Welcome back to the Journey to the FarLands. All right. Well, let's get out of here and hopefully not run into any creeper type persons or anything like that. All right, looking okay there. Block that off and find west, which is actually this way, and move onwards to the FarLands. All right. Okay, well, let's see. As is tradition, the size of the world this morning, at the beginning of this episode, 6,299.15 megabytes. As we move on, and I don't have this number in front of me right now, but I do believe we're talking about almost 525 Minecraft days since leaving spawn. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, moving onwards and so on, we have a mess of questions, and what I'm doing with this is the questions that I find and add to my list, I'm adding them to the bottom of the list. And then the ones that I'm taking to answer are pretty much coming up off the top of the list. And it's not that they're added in any major order or anything like that, but that's pretty much what I'm doing. It will end up being that the oldest questions get answered before the newest ones, and so on. But at some point or another, I do intend to address everything that shows up on the list. Okay. Another one, let's see. An individual whose name I cannot pronounce says, "How old are you actually? Because I really can't tell." Well, this is probably the single most frequently asked question of all time, is how old am I? And I've answered it many, many times, but I don't mind addressing it again. I am 59, and it's just the thing. 59, which in my opinion is proof that one does not need to be a kid in order to enjoy Minecraft or making videos, making game videos, vlog videos, whatever. And that, as I have said so many times, that having a few more years behind you doesn't mean you can't have fun with whatever you choose to do. Anyway, and that wasn't me assuming that anyone was saying that I was too old for Minecraft. I mean, people have said that in the past, but that particular questioner was not saying that. Anyway, moving onwards. Let's see. Another person whose name I have trouble pronouncing here. I don't like mangling people's names, so if I am not reasonably confident of pronouncing it correctly, I won't even try. Because I never cared for it when people mangle my name, and a lot of people have. Anyway, this person whom I cannot pronounce their name says, "Do you plan on making more cooking videos?" And a secondary question that goes with it, "Do you watch PewDiePie?" Well, first question first, do I plan on making more cooking videos? I don't currently have any plans in that regard. I haven't ruled it out. I haven't decided, no, I'm never going to make a new cooking video. And honestly, I would actually enjoy doing that, but I have a number of reasons for not doing it right now, the largest part of which is that because of my weight loss issues, food and me are not really on the best of terms. And here's the thing, when you make a cooking video, when you're done with it, you have whatever dish you were making in the video. And I know folks have suggested this option before, but I can't just simply throw it away. I can't just say, okay, this was fun to make and it's a good video, but I can't eat this, so I have to throw it away. I can't do that. Oh, come on. I must have put the boat down right into myself or something for it to jump away that fast. Anyway, so I haven't ruled it out. If I come up with something good and my kitchen is looking in a reasonable enough fashion for me to allow pieces of it to show up on camera, then yes, I will be making more cooking videos. When that might happen, I can't begin to even guess. And let's see, do I watch PewDiePie? No. A year or 2 or 3 or whatever ago, that name came up in reference to some scandal or other. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a thing that everybody was talking about and so on. And I actually went and looked up a few of the person's videos. I went to their channel, I looked up a few of their videos, and after having done so, I wanted to get myself some bleach for my brain, because I just couldn't understand why anybody would choose to watch that, although obviously many, many, many people have chosen to watch him. And for those that choose to watch that person, fine. Knock yourself out. Enjoy. Whatever. However, it is very clearly and simply not my cup of tea. I did not find their videos enjoyable or anything like that. Certainly not anything that I would choose to subscribe to, for example. It's just not my thing. So, no, I don't watch PewDiePie. And very likely I won't be watching PewDiePie anytime in the foreseeable future. And so, okay, had to get out of that little navigational mess. All right, anyway, let's see. Let me throw away this. I don't need it. Oh, by the way, as an aside, the troubles that I've had in recent days, recent weeks, with my mouse occasionally freezing up, and most recently, when it would freeze up, it would for some reason also take out or deactivate my microphone. This problem has not happened in several days now. It stopped happening when I bought a new mouse. And, well, the new mouse is an off-brand. The package says ONN on it, where you would have a manufacturer's name, so I have no idea what that is. It was just, well, frankly, it was the only wired mouse I could find when I was into Walmart, and I was not willing to order online or whatever. I really needed a new unit. And I was going to buy Logitech the way I have been doing for years. However, that was something of a problem because all of the Logitech mice were of the wireless variety. And oh, come on. I am 59 years old. I will sleep any damn time I want to. Oy, oy, oy. Yeah. Anyway, the new mouse has cured the problem. I don't no longer have these lockups. The kind of lockups that the only way to fix them is to reboot, which is a real pain in the butt when you're in the middle of doing something, especially if you're in the middle of recording something. Yeah. But that's taken care of. And as far as the not wanting to go with the wireless device is because, frankly, I don't trust them. And besides which, making a mouse wireless just basically, you know, it adds another level of complexity. And as I'm sure you know, the more complex a thing is, the more likely it is to fail. The more points of failure it has. You know, it has more places where it can fail. Oh. Okay, I need to, I need to hop over here, get up here, climb up a bit, and turn off the HUD, get myself a screenshot. Yeah, because that's a thumbnail. Cool. And then I move onwards. Anywho, yeah. So, yeah, the additional point of failure, you know, there is the fact that you have to change batteries in it, and I know there's been several folks that have told me about mice that, wireless mice that you have to deal with the batteries like once a year or something like that. But you know how it is. That even if I originally start out keeping spares, it's entirely likely that when the time comes that I need them, you know, all of a sudden the mouse stops working and I need to look up where the spare batteries are and change them out, that they will turn out to have discharged in storage or just have been no good to start with, or they will be lost and misplaced, which is much more likely. And I won't remember where it was I put them or whatever, you know. And what? Weirdness. And so on. And then there's more parts. There's transmitters and receivers and whatnot that suddenly are another thing that can fail and so forth. And so I have all these years stuck with a plain old-fashioned corded mouse. And I don't know. Eventually I'll end up using wireless, but basically circumstances probably going to have to drag me kicking and screaming into that. Just simply because it's another change. And I'm not thrilled about change, and especially when it's change for the sake of change. And in this case, it's going to be change because the thing I prefer to use isn't available anymore. Because most people seem to be all hot on going wireless with everything, and that's not necessarily a great thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing either. It's just, hey, I have a thing the way I like to do it, and for as long as I'm able to, I want to do it the way I want to do it. Anyway, apologies for getting into a rant there. I didn't really mean to do that, but it happens. Actually, how about if I just swim a little bit, because there's ice over there, and I wouldn't want to waste a boat to go 20 or 30 blocks to get to some ice. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Next up, let's see, That Game Day says, do you have any thoughts on Elder Scrolls 6? I'm a little hesitant to be excited for it based on current state of Bethesda. Honestly, Elder Scrolls 6 is at this point in its very early stages of development, and I'm quite sure that at this point, even Bethesda doesn't know exactly every little bit of things they're going to do with it. I mean, that game is, by any reasonable estimate, probably 4 or 5 years from being released. So, I don't have any thoughts about Elder Scrolls 6 because it is early stage development ghostware at this point. Really, it is. You know, when Bethesda shows up at E3 and shows off teasers and trailers from Elder Scrolls 6, then I will make some decisions about it. But that's going to take, like I said, 4 or 5 years minimum. You know, that's how long it took for them to develop Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. And that's the kind of time investment they put into Fallout 4. You know, it takes a long time to develop something like that and have it come out right. And then, of course, in spite of all of that, the product initially, inevitably, without question, regardless of who makes it, is going to release with a treasure trove of bugs and glitches and issues that the developers didn't find because players do things the developers never actually thought of. And they find all kinds of issues and so on. And yeah, so I don't know. I think it's way too early to be getting excited about Elder Scrolls 6 or anything like that. As far as I can figure, I'm saying I think they're still in the kind of early pre-alpha planning stages. I don't even know if they've decided what most of the game is going to be. You know, I haven't even heard any rumors, any good substantiated rumors as to what realm the game is going to be set in. Like, Skyrim was, of course, set in Skyrim. And other ones were in Morrowind and I think Vardenfell or something like that. And there's been a lot of talk back and forth amongst a number of people about where ES6 might take place, but well, several people have, I've read stuff by several people that have each had good arguments and good logical reasoning or whatever as to why the thing would show up taking place in where they want it, where they think it will. But when it comes down to it, Bethesda's going to do what Bethesda does, and nobody outside of Bethesda really is going to know what that is until they decide to tell people. And until they tell people, it's all just a bunch of theorizing and guesswork. Okay, anyhoozle, I hope that was somewhat reasonable-ish helpful. Or at least in terms of being some kind of a remotely good answer. Anywho, I have another night to sleep. I better not put a boat down there on the platform. Don't laugh, I've done that in the past. It's terrible. Okay, well, let's see. Short one here. Dudes of Minecraft says, are you originally from Arkansas? And no. I was born and raised in Massachusetts. And then when I was about 10, or 11 actually, my family ended up moving to Oklahoma, and when I was 19 I left home, and I lived in a number of places, and about a little over 20 years ago, in 1997, I ended up moving to Arkansas. And yeah. So that should be a reasonably quickish answer. I've lived all over, well, maybe not all over, but in a fair number of places. Done a fair amount of moving around from one place to another. And on the other hand, the place where I'm living now, I've lived in this house since December of 2001. And that is the longest time I have ever lived in one place in my entire life. And I appreciate that, because I never liked moving. Moving was always a lot of work, and when we were kids, anytime there was moving to be done, my dad would task me to help with all of this lifting and carrying and whatnot. Because I was the older, I was not only the oldest, I was also the physically biggest and strongest and so on. And so I got the quote-unquote privilege of helping. It gave me such a love for moving that, yeah. Anywho, let's see. Okay, Bill Wool asks, what kind of work did you do before you retired and started gaming? Well, let's see. For a lot of my adult life, I worked in fast food places, most of which were pizza shops. Delivering. At first, I did a lot of delivery, driving around the city, delivering, and at some point I ended up doing more of, I was one of the guys in the shop that made the pizzas, and so on. I spent a bunch of years doing that. And sometime after coming to Arkansas, I ended up in a much different line of work. I found myself working in, of all places, a machine shop. And this is without any particular kind of special education or training or anything like that. I learned everything as I went in that shop. It was owned by a single guy. Just one guy owned it. It was a small-time area, neighborhood, whatever shop. He did a lot of local work and for local factories and so on and so forth. And at that shop, I learned things like, well, running a bench grinder, doing work that the tolerances for accuracy was measured in terms of within thousandths of an inch, so many thousandths of an inch, like 3 or 4 thousandths of an inch tolerance. Things had to be that tight and whatnot in terms of what the final dimensions of something was. And another boat. And I really kind of got to enjoy that, because it was the sort of work that it wasn't the sort of thing that your average chimpanzee could be trained to do, I mean, let's face it. Pizza delivery, and even making pizza, has its challenges and so on. But really, it's the kind of thing that anybody could do it. If you have a car and you can find various places, find an address in your city or wherever you live, then you have the potential ability to deliver pizza. And it doesn't take a whole lot of skill, or, well, not a whole lot of training and whatnot. Skill you develop, but you don't need a whole lot of training and whatnot to make pizzas either. Especially, well, in particular, not in a place like Domino's or Pizza Hut or something like that, Now, it might be different if it was your basic, smaller, family-owned thing, because they're going to have their own special ways of doing some things and so on. But anyway, yeah, the machine shop was cool. It was a lot of fun. I learned a bunch of things, and one of the things was the fact that the thing I was originally hired to do, mainly as my main task, was a CNC cutting machine. That it was my job to create the programs that operated that machine. And, oh, come on. Gotta get rid of that. I didn't want to pick up the reeds. Okay. Okay, moving onward. Yes, I was writing the programs that controlled this cutting machine that would cut parts of to a particular shape within these tight tolerances out of several layers of thin sheets of steel. And then they would go from there to the bench grinder for some final polish, as it were, and bring them down to their final tolerances, and then they'd be shipped off and whatnot. It was educational. It was challenging to a degree. I had to learn completely new programming language for it, because the machines, there were 2 of them, and each one had its own language made by different companies, you see. And I had to learn the hows and wherefores and whatnot of doing that particular kind of programming. And it was challenging, and it was fun, and I kept up with doing that until the shop owner decided, for whatever reason there might be, that he needed to move the shop to a new location. Unfortunately, the new location was far enough away that it would have meant a 50-mile commute one way. 50 miles to get there in the morning and 50 miles to get home in the evening, which is basically, you're going to drive for an hour to get there, and then you're going to drive for another hour to get home. And that was unacceptable. Plain and simple, it was unacceptable for it to be that much of a commute. And thus I ended up leaving the first job in my life that I actually liked. I mean, delivering pizza was okay. Making pizza was okay. And other fast food kind of work was, well, tolerable at least. But when it come right down to it, that stuff I did in the machine shop, that was fun, challenging, and educational, and it was, well, it was the kind of thing that I wanted. It was a job that you couldn't train a chimpanzee to do. And that was great. It was fantastic. Okay, let's see. Time for the bed. I am going to have a pile of crap to get rid of next time. And let's see. Time to make a couple of more boats and 3 more beds. I need to get logs and some wool next time. Alright, 2 more boats, 3 more boats. And 3 beds. Okay, get rid of that. And now break this up, and that'll be just about it for this episode. Okay, get rid of that. No. Get rid of that. And that. And that. And that. Jeez. Picking up all kinds of crap. Alright, in any event, that's going to cover it for this episode, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I am out of here.